is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are the Fox. We are South.
It was a memorable 2012 for the Atlanta Braves, another postseason appearance, and a farewell tour for a franchise icon. For over 2 decades, number 10 was the cornerstone of the Braves, but with a new season comes new expectations, which arrived in Braves country along with 2 gifted brothers. Along with a more familiar talent might make up what could be baseball's best outfield. Perhaps one of that trio will step up and begin to build his own lasting legacy in Atlanta. The 2013 season begins with the same goal as the last: make it to the playoffs and deeper into October. New faces, returning stars, and rising youngsters have the Braves fans fired up. And Fox Sports South will be there all year long to bring the action to you. Our coverage starts today with our first spring training game. So enjoy the start of another great Brave season along with us today. It's a beautiful day for baseball at Lake Buena Vista, Florida. Spring training 2013 continues here at Champion Stadium. The Atlanta Braves playing host to their Eastern Division rivals, the New York Mets. And we're very proud to kick off our coverage of this 2013 Braves campaign this spring and on into the regular season. 152 games on Fox Sports South, all of them in beautiful high definition. And hi again, friends. Happy New Year. I'm Chip Carey with my partner, Joe Simpson. An awful lot to be excited about as we get set for an exciting Braves campaign.
It's great to be here, first of all. Beautiful day for baseball. The Braves have reasons to be excited about this 2013 season because of some changes on the ball club, some things that we'll talk about during the course of the broadcast today, but this looks like a very good club being put together.
It is going to be a very busy broadcast day for us. Our first of 4 spring training telecasts, new faces, new places, still some position paddles, Joe, and of course, always fun to talk to the guys in the dugout.
Well, and today we get to see Tim Hudson work, so always nice to see the veteran out there, and he's making his 6th appearance this spring. Had a bit of a rough spring, but he's working on some things. We'll talk about that too.
So Braves country, we've been itching to say this since October. It's time to play ball, and we'll get things underway here at Champion Stadium with the Braves and the New York Mets getting things started right after this. Braves on Fox Sports South are brought to you in part by Honda Lawn and Garden. A perfect day for baseball here in Orlando, Florida. As Vince Scully might say, cerulean blue skies overhead. And the berm is awfully busy as well as the Mets come a-calling for another matchup against the Braves here at Champion Stadium. And a busy broadcast for us, and we hope it'll be a busy day for the folks in the Braves ticket offices. Fans grab the Braves steal of the game today only. Buy a season ticket package of 20 games or more. You'll get the full set of 2013 Braves bobbleheads and a 2012 Chipper Jones bobblehead, too. That offer's good today only, so call right now at 404-577-9100. Good-looking trio of bobbleheads we've got working today.
That's already a good deal with the bobbleheads in advance.
Exactly.
You can show them to your neighbors and say, look what I got, and you don't.
So jump on the bandwagon, folks, as the Braves take the field. Tim Hudson will be the starting pitcher today, and here's the Mets lineup he will face for skipper Terry Collins. Jordany Valdespin leads off at second base. Ruben Tejada is the shortstop. And the outfield, a real question mark for the Mets. Colin Cowgill, Lucas Duda gets starts in center and left, respectively. Former Marlin John Bucks behind the plate. Mike Baxter's in right field. Zach Lutz, Brandon Hicks, the former Brave, starting for an injured David Wright. That's a big story. And Jeremy Hefner will be the pitcher on those Toyota starting lineups for New York.
Tim Hudson's now 37, 6'1", 175 pounds. He's made 4 starts already. This is number 5. His ERA a little high because he got knocked around some in his last start. And talking to him before the game, Chip, one of the things he said that has been working real well for him has been his cutter. The thing that's not working well is his curveball. He's hit 4 batters this year, which is unusual for him, all lefties and all with curveballs after he's gotten ahead with his gotten ahead 0-2. He's dropping curveballs on their back foot, but he said literally on their back foot. I'm hitting a bunch of guys with it, so my location with a curveball needs some work today. 3 more starts perhaps for Tim Hudson this spring. Is he still in work on stuff mode, or is he trying to hone things for perhaps an opening day assignment? I think he's building up, and today he said he wanted to go 6 innings or 187 pitches, whichever came first. And he said, I said, well, at what point do you reach a point of let's back off a little bit because of this extended spring training, because of the World Baseball Classic? And he said, one more start. He said, I'll put everything into it, and then he said, I'll back off a little bit as we get closer to the start of the season. So Hudson ready to go. Here's a look at the Braves defense. The Upton, and Hayward outfield. That'll be fun to talk about all year. Still a battle at third base between Juan Francisco and Chris Johnson. GERALD, LAIRD, and Tim Hudson, the Atlanta battery today. Greg Gibson's got the plate today. Jeff Gosney, Sam Holbrook, and Jeff Nelson work the base paths as Jordany Valdespin will lead things off for the Mets. He's had a good spring for New York. And we're underway in Orlando. Beautiful day, 65. Just a little bit of breeze blowing.
Valdespin in the air to center. B.J. Upton will measure this one up. And Hudson gets his first out on 2 pitches. 1 down.
One of the things that I'm looking forward to is in this season is this outfield and watching how they play defense, how they set up to cover the ground. They're all fast guys. They've all got good arms. It's going to be, in my opinion, the best, but certainly arguably in the top 2 or 3 defensively in baseball. And really, isn't it interesting, Joe, that with the acquisitions of Justin and B.J. Upton, everyone's talked about what these 2 men can do offensively. To your point, no one's talked about the ground they're going to cover with Jason Hayward out there, who happened to win a Gold Glove last year.
Ruben Tejada is the Mets shortstop. Unlike Valdespin, he's having a rough spring at the plate. He's 3 for 22, a 136 batting average.
The Mets are thin. They are trying to fill some gaps, fill some holes. I asked Terry Collins before the game, I said, how you doing? He goes, not very good, in his high voice. I said, what's the matter? And he goes, David Wright? And I went, oh, yeah, forgot about that.
Yeah, if you missed the news, David Wright is on his way back to New York. He's been battling a back or a rib injury of some sort. Was in his spikes, ready to play in the WBC game the other night. Joe Torre didn't play him. Wright is going to miss some time. They don't know how severe the injury is for the New York third baseman.
Terry Collins was fearful he might miss a month.
Wow. This is in the air to right. Jason Hayward's got that measured up. And Tejada is the second fly ball out for Tim Hudson in the opening inning.
By far their best player, David Wright, of course. And Collins went on to say our three highest paid players, David Wright, Johan Santana, and Frankie Francisco, in their bullpen, all hurt. All possibly with Wright on the DL to start the season, something they didn't envision and can't afford because, like I said, they're very inexperienced in trying to fill some holes.
Yeah, remember, they traded R.A. Dickey, too. So you're right. Very, very thin Mets ball club as Colin Cowgill bats for the first time today. Former University of Kentucky star with his third big league team in as many seasons. Oakland, Arizona, and now the Mets. And he's ahead in the count, 2 balls, no strikes. Outfield's a concern for the Mets, is it not?
It is. They've got Lucas Duda moved over to left field, but he's kind of more the plow horse type. And Collins said we're trying to figure out because we need some offense, we need Duda in there, if we'd be better off putting some guys who can run, get the ball in the outfield, 3 guys that can speed around and steal some bases, or go with Duda and his lack of defense.
3 balls and a strike to Colin Cowgill. He's hit a couple of homers this spring, .355 average. That's what he did last season.
Come, buddy.
Pena at short. First ground ball from Hudson and an efficient 1-2-3 first. You know he's excited about that. Braves come to the plate. Scoreless first inning here in Orlando. Tim Hudson got the Mets in order in the top of the first. Now the Braves come a-calling. This Atlanta offense swinging the bat real well in Grapefruit League play. In fact, the Braves lead all National League teams in hits so far in the spring. It's Pena, Jason Hayward, Justin Upton, Freeman, B.J. Upton, Dan Uggla, Juan Francisco, Gerald Laird 8th, and Tim Hudson will pitch and bat 9th.
They'll go against right-hander Jeremy Hefner out of Perkins, Oklahoma, who made some starts for the club last year, made several appearances for the Mets, went 4-6 with a 5 ERA. There are his spring numbers. He throws hard. He's one of 2 or 3 young pitchers the Mets have that really have big, hard-throwing arms, and they're hoping that he fills one of those holes vacated by R.A. Dickey, who was traded away to Toronto.
And there's a good live fastball to Ramiro Pena out of Monterrey, Mexico. And Pena's opened some eyes in this camp. Filling in real nicely for Andrelton Simmons, who's still playing with the Netherlands club in the WBC. And a shot to right. Mike Baxter gives ground and makes the play a step shy of the track. And there's your first out. Here's a look at how the Mets line up defensively. As we said a moment ago, this is going to be an outfield in progress for Terry Collins. Still trying to find a combination that he and the Mets brass like. Former Brave Brandon Hicks in at third base for New York. Zach Lutz at first. Ike Davis didn't make the trip. And John Buck and Jeremy Hefner the battery for New York. Quick strike to Jason Heyward. He's hit 3 homers this spring. This one launched to left. Lucas Duda will have room. 2 outs.
A lot was made about a tender shoulder for Jason Heyward about a week or 10 days ago, but everybody I talked to said that was just one day. It was a little sore. He played the next day, and he's been getting treatment, and everything's fine.
So, Braves country, here's your first look on our broadcasts at Justin Upton. Those are Justin's spring numbers. And when he's right, a run-producing and run-scoring machine. Up over 100 runs scored last year. And it was an injury-filled year for him with the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, he had a bad thumb that he injured early on. Cut into some of his numbers with the Diamondbacks.
Little roller toward third. Nice pickup by Hicks, and he'll throw on the run. And Hefner has a 1-2-3 first. On we go to the second. No score. We head to the second inning. Tim Hudson back to work for the Braves. You all know opening day is April 1st, but it's never too early to start marking your calendars for some of the great theme nights we have waiting for you at Turner Field, including, Joe, our first Bark in the Park on May 5th.
Always a big item. Of course, the Civil Rights game, always a very popular game as well on June 1st.
As Lucas Duda takes a pitch in the dirt for ball 1 in the second inning for the Mets. So mark your calendars. Turner Field's going to be a fun place to be this summer for this 2013 Braves squad. And Duda launches this one deep to right field, and that's a no-doubter, a long home run. Makes it 1-0 New York.
And Terry Collins and the Mets sorely need Lucas Duda, Ike Davis, and David Wright to carry a huge part of the load for their offense. See what happened here. Like a hanger. and he stayed back nicely on it.
So his second of the spring, due to hit 15 last year for New York. And the Mets jump in front with John Buck, the catcher, here in the second inning. And he hits a shot to left for a hit. Now Mike Baxter bats. Saw Baxter a time or two when the Braves and Mets played in regular season play last year. There's that breaking ball you were talking about for Tim Hudson earlier.
And in the spot where he'd been having trouble with it in terms of the left-handed hitter, he put that one in a good place. I've been surprised at how quickly Tim has stretched himself out. I mean, even 2 starts ago, he was, it wasn't just innings that he went 4 innings, but the fact that he threw close to 80 pitches, and the same was the case in his last outing when he went 5.
Broken bat. Freddie Freeman fumbles, and he'll have 1 play. That's at first. Buck to second as Baxter rolls out for the first out. Well, for Tim, already it's a much better spring this year than last. Remember, he was banged up coming back from injury and missed the first couple of weeks of regular season play for the Braves last year.
Well, let's face it, he's no spring chicken anymore. He's 37, and I asked him about with the extended spring training, meaning an extra start or maybe even 2, would that affect him in the regular season, having thrown so many innings in spring training? And he said no, for the reason I outlined earlier, which meant that he was going to back off a little bit on his last 2 starts.
Zach Lutz is the Mets' first baseman today. He's knocked in 4 runs this spring.
I can tell you this, that the players give them through the weekend, they'll be looking at the calendar.
Yeah, that was my next question. Are we officially in dog day territory for these guys in Orlando?
Most of the guys, I think, would tell you that 40 or 50 at bats get them ready for the season. And while most of them are in the 25 to 30 to 40 range in terms of at bats, by the end of the weekend they will be ready. And that's one of the drawbacks, in my opinion, of spring training, is that for the guys that don't participate in the World Baseball Classic, one of the drawbacks of that tournament, I should say, is that it is really a long spring training for everybody else.
And for a club like the Braves, which I would imagine has almost all of their questions answered at this point in the spring, you're right, it's probably not the best thing. But if you're the Mets, with so many different things they have to evaluate, they need all the extra time they can get.
That's true. That's true. It works out pretty well for them. Get a little more time to evaluate some guys, but Frank Wren said this morning that they've got 1 infield spot open, 1 outfield spot open, and 1 bullpen spot open. That's it. So they've got a pretty good idea already, I think, the Braves do, of who's going to fill those spots.
Roller toward Francisco. Juan makes the pickup. No advance at second. Buck rolls out. Or, excuse me, Lutz rolls out. And there's your second out of the inning, and here's Brandon Hicks. David Wright misses a month. Who in the world's going to play third base for these guys?
Well, this is a good candidate right here. And Brandon played last year mostly with Oakland when he was in the big leagues. But he's got a great opportunity here, not because of the injury, but just because of the open spots on this ball club where he could be a super utility guy. He's already played some first base this spring for him. He was a good player, and he was a good prospect for the Braves. A lot of pop in his bat. He just needed to make a little more contact, and still does. Good pitch there. He said his location, Tim said his location, his fastball was pretty decent, but that's something else that he needed to improve on his last few starts.
Two balls and a strike to Brandon Hicks. And that one missed inside. 3-1. Tim was, with his self-deprecating sense of humor, called his last outing a train wreck because of all the pitches he threw. But as you said, 37 years young, don't worry too much about Tim Hudson in the spring. That ball hammered deep to left. Upton's not going to get that. Scoring easily is Buck. Brandon Hicks doubles to make it 2-0 Mets. So Hicks making the most of his opportunity today.
That looked like another curveball. I'm not sure. Yep. Just didn't have enough bite on it. So Tim's description of his own issues this spring were right on, at least this inning.
Keep an eye on Hefner. He's got a little pop. Last year, he homered in a game in which he earned his first big league win. That came against the Phillies. Little flare to right, and Jason Hayward playing shallowly makes the shoe top grab, and that will retire the side. Lucas Duda led off the second with a homer. John Buck scored on a double, and after an inning and a half, the Mets have scored first and second today. In this ball game, or Justin Upton bat in this ball game. We're going to see B.J. Upton second here in this second inning, and boy, these two fellas are going to be awfully fun to watch patrolling this Atlanta outfield this year.
Two-time All-Star already for the younger of the two brothers, Justin. And that bottom line, that's not insignificant. Both of them signed for at least 3 years in Justin's case, and a new deal for BJ here in Atlanta as a free agent. But just great numbers. It's like Freddie Freeman coming to the plate now. You look at this team and this lineup, you don't really talk about potential. You just look at, hey, if these guys do what they've already done in the past, this has the makings of a great lineup. And if anybody in the lineup is still maybe not to their full potential, it would be Freddie, just because of his inexperience. But everybody looking for a big year from him. His finger's healthy. His eyes are good.
3 home runs so far this spring. And to the point about the eyes being good, he's got contact lenses he's very comfortable with. He's going to wear from time to time some clear plastic glasses if the situation warrants. Remember, only 147 games last year, still 23 homers. That ball's hit hard to right. And a nice running catch by Mike Baxter retires Freddie Freeman. 1 out.
Something down and in, and he went down and got it, but he couldn't get it far enough away from Baxter. Good swing. I don't know what the budget is for batting practice balls for the Braves. I don't know what they plugged in before the year started, but they're going to have to adjust. These guys put on quite a show.
And B.J. Upton's been putting on a show all spring. He is red hot. .429 spring batting average. And I know we throw around the term potential an awful lot. To your point about the Uptons and Jason Hayward, they're seasoned guys, but Braves country has to be very excited about the potential of this offense 1 through 8. As this ball skied to shallow right, Valdespin drifts out. And Joe, remember, this is a Braves offense that at least for the first 2 weeks of the season won't have Brian McCann in the starting 8.
No, and some question marks about Andrelton Simmons in the leadoff spot too, but he's doing so well in the World Baseball Classic leading off for the Dutch team that I think he's putting to rest any question marks about that. This team's got a lot of pop. They've also got a lot of strikeouts in their history. That's going to be something that Freddie will have to be patient with and live with at times.
Dan Uggla smacks the first pitch to left. And a basket catch made by Lucas Duda retires the Braves in order in the second. To the third we go. The Mets enjoy a 2-0 lead early. The Atlanta Braves on Fox Sports South and brought to you in part by Ram Trucks and by Yellowwood. Tim Hudson goes to work in our third inning and will face the top of the Mets order. It's Jordani Valdespin. This guy had quite a year off the bench for the Mets last year. He had a lot of pinch hit home runs for New York.
Guess he had an incident, though, earlier this week that was a little bit scary.
Yeah.
Would be for most of us.
Valdespin, and there's only one way to describe it, for years as a professional player, didn't wear a very important protective device as part of his major league uniform. And has Dan Uggla to his left. Justin Verlander found the proverbial break in the armor.
The vacated area.
Yes. Yes.
Valdespin apparently squared the bunt, and Justin Verlander hit him in that unprotected area with a fastball. So Mets are just happy to see Valdespin upright and able to play a few days later.
Yes. Ruben Tejada bats. He flied out to right his first time. Good to see Tim getting the ball on the ground the last inning or so.
This guy played pretty well for the Mets last year after Jose Reyes had departed by free agency. Good defensive player.
Pena at short. The ground ball out for Hudson. 2 outs.
Fans, learn ways to make your home more energy efficient with Georgia Power's online energy checkup. It's free and takes less than 15 minutes to complete. And welcome back, Georgia Power.
Two up, 2 down for Colin Cowgill.
This backup infield spot that's open is really hotly contested. Pena was on the Mexican team in the World Baseball Classic, so he missed some time with the big club. But he came in hitting .320. Tyler Pasternicki rather, hitting .375 this spring. And Blake DeWitt, you've heard that name with the Dodgers and with the Cubs. He's in camp, and while his numbers don't measure up to those guys in terms of batting average, he's an excellent defender. So some good choices to pick from for that backup infield spot.
There's Blake.
And Pena, really versatile infielder, can play. He's playing short today. He can play second and has played some third.
Runner at first for Lucas Duda, who homered his first time up. Runner goes. And Laird's throw is in time. Gerald Laird can catch it, call it, and throw it with the best of him. And he takes care of Colin Cowgill and the Mets. And that ends the scoreless third inning. 2-0 New York, bottom third of the order coming up for the Braves. Braves up for the third time, down a couple of runs to Jeremy Hefner and the New York Mets this afternoon. Again, fans, a reminder, grab the Braves steal of the game today only. Buy a season ticket package of 20 games or more. You'll get the full set of 2013 Braves bobbleheads and a 2012 Chipper Jones bobblehead. Offers good today only. Call 404-577-9100. And leading off is a man in one of those pitched battles for a position spot. Juan Francisco. He and Chris Johnson locking horns at third base. And he looks outside. 2 balls, no strikes.
And neither one of the guys has backed off. They're both hitting well over 300, driving in some runs, hitting some homers. Well, Francisco has dropped to 289. He's been over 300 all spring.
A reporter asked Freddie Gonzalez if this battle might come down to who's the better defender. He was asked that, was the skipper down in Jupiter. He said, look, they're both about the same defensively, which is very, very solid. So I would guess this might come down to the final day or two of camp. Barring injury, of course.
And a lot of it depends on how many adjustments Francisco will make with some of the suggestions Greg Walker's been making to him for the last year.
Don't need to adjust that, though, do you?
No.
That's as long as you'll see him here in Orlando. Over the back wall by the TV trucks. A towering solo blast.
Did that go over the yellow wall?
It did.
Oh, my goodness. He hit one of the longest home runs hit all last year at New Marlins Stadium in Florida to right field. And this one, just to the left of the 385 mark, cleared that yellow wall out behind the parking lot. Wow. That looked like batting practice today.
So that's not one of those BP baseballs, but a regular shoot ball. They're going to have to reload. So a towering blast cuts the Mets' lead in half as Gerald LAIRD bats and fouls one away at the plate. A ball and a strike to the Braves catcher.
For those of you that don't know a lot about Gerald LAIRD, he's been in the World Series the last couple of years. Last year with Detroit, and really played well for the Tigers in the postseason after they lost their catcher Avila to an injury and was only playing sporadically. Gerald's always been a good catch and throw guy and contributed some offense too, although this spring's been a little slow for him coming around.
But as if on cue, he splits the gap in right center field. Laird's going to have an extra base hit. Back-to-back Braves hits. Francisco homer, now a LAIRD double. And Joe, from the yellow wall to the Yellowwood interview. Mike Minor joins us downstairs. How you doing, Mike?
Good. How are you guys?
Great.
Good work yesterday. I know you had a rough finish to the outing, but leading up to that, you worked some good innings. 1 hit, 1 walk.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I think I made the best pitches in that last inning. I had a couple of bats that were pretty tough with Holiday and Carpenter, and just didn't go my way.
Tim Hudson will try to get a bunt down here and takes high. Different feel for you this spring, Mike, as opposed to last spring when you were really fighting for one of those 5 roster spots?
Yeah,
pitching spots?
Definitely. More relaxed this year, just trying to work on stuff and get my innings, arm strength up. Rather than last year, I was going out there trying to impress everybody, trying to impress the coaches to show them that I deserved the spot on the team.
Mike, I thought last year you got overlooked a little bit near the end of the year because of the way Chris Medlin was pitching and how outstanding he was, but I thought you made great strides, not just in results but in confidence the last couple of months of the season. Would you agree?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was overlooked.
But you don't have to agree with that.
Yeah. Medlin was, striking out 14 guys a game and all that. I was just getting, I was having quality starts, and that's what I was trying to do. And just happened to kind of roll a couple in a row there, and by the end of it, it was the end of the season. I looked back and I was like, well, ERA's down probably 2 points, and had a handful of quality starts. So, but no, I was definitely not overlooked. Medlin was the show at the end right there.
I've always wanted to ask a young player, when you have a few struggles and then all of a sudden you do what you did last year, Mike, in the second half, does a proverbial light switch go on and something clicks or connects, or you make an adjustment, it just happens, or how does that work?
I think it was just, just working back and forth with Roger, and I used to let a lot of things get to me. So I would go out there and just try to have a quality start, and rather than thinking if I give up a run that the game was over, or if I give up a walk or a double, leadoff double, then they're automatically going to score. I was just trying to do damage control. If they hit a home run, I didn't let it bother me as much, and then I just went to the next batter or the next inning and just try to keep on rolling, go 5-6 innings. Try to help out the bullpen if I go a little bit later, and then the goals just started. I started narrowing down the goals rather than trying to pitch a shutout every game.
Well, that's a good attitude to have where that's concerned. How much of that, too, is just getting familiar with your opponents, too, and learning some of their tendencies?
Yeah, it was Roger had me looking at video myself rather than going over scouting report and or a broad scouting report of what this guy can hit left side, right side, because a lot of guys pitch differently than I do, where they have different movement. They have two-seamers, or their best pitch is a slider or a curveball. So I went in there in the video room, and I would put down my own notes of what I thought I could get these guys out with. And, I tried to attack hitters more and keep my walks down, because we talked about that too, is that I'd walk a guy, give up a base hit, and then a home run. There's 3 runs right there. And it really killed me at the beginning of the year. And then also another thing I put in my head was after the All-Star break, I said it was a new slate. I acted like I had a 0 ERA, and I went out there and just tried to pitch as well as I could.
And it does
good numbers.
Great numbers. And it doesn't figure, Mike, that you're going to have to pitch too many shutouts with this offensive potential the ball club has this year, huh?
No, it makes me feel pretty good, especially right now. These guys are already clicking. When we put all the guys in the field to start lineup, it seems like opening day. These guys are just mashing balls. Freddie's hitting them, Jason beat. Everybody's just, hitting balls. You feel like you can go 6 innings, give up 4 or 5 runs, and still get a win.
That's a comfort, and not just that, but the defense that outfield provides you too. If you give up a hard hit ball.
Yeah, as long as it's not too low. I mean, if it's got about 2 seconds hang time, it's probably caught.
Little pop toward first base and in foul ground. Jason Hayward's going to pop out. Mike, we talked a minute ago about GERALD LAIRD and what he brings to the ball club. Obviously, the club will be without Brian McCann for the first couple of weeks of the season. How quickly have you and GERALD been able to familiarize each other?
I mean, he came in the clubhouse right away, and it feels like he's been here for the last couple of years. He just kind of came in with the veteran feel of relaxed, coming meshing with the guys. And then I've only got to throw with him one time, and he did a fine job. He can hit. I mean, McCann's gonna be missed, but it's just like Rossi. Anytime you put Rossi in the game, it wasn't like you're missing a spot back there where you have a weakness. Rossi's hitting home runs and catching the ball well back there, receiving well, and I think Laird's going to take his spot and do a fine job, especially at the beginning of the year.
Justin Upton bats for the second time. He tapped out third his first time up. Ready to get to Atlanta, Mike, this time of spring?
Yeah. It seems like a long spring right now. I think I got 2 more starts or so, and we'll be ready. But yeah, I'm ready to get this opening day, April 1st, ready to go.
Well, we're ready too, and we look forward to seeing you pitch, Mike. Keep up the good work this spring, and opening day is just a few short weeks away.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.
That's Mike Minor. Appreciate his time. Long home run from Juan Francisco cuts the Mets lead to 2-1 after 3. On Fox Sports South, brought to you in part by Honda Lawn and Garden. 2-1 ball game in Orlando. Tim Hudson out for his fourth inning of work. He'll face Lucas Duda, the man in the batter's box, when Colin Cowgill was thrown out trying to steal. That ended the Mets' third.
A lot of young players in this Atlanta team that people are excited about. Prospects of making the team or that may already have a spot on the team. And I'll start with Julio Teheran, who really pitched a great game his last time out. I think it was 5 innings and no-hit ball. And it seems to have, the light bulb's gone on. And he is really pitching great this spring. Seems to have locked down the 5th spot in the rotation.
And there have been other pitchers who've opened some eyes as well, and other position players too. Most notably, Evan Gattis. He caught yesterday down in Jupiter against the Cardinals. That was Mike Minor's start, but he's hitting the ball a ton this spring. As Ugla has a chance at second, Lucas Duda rolls out. There's out number 1.
Here's some of those young guys, including Evan Gattis. Check out his batting average. He's among the Grapefruit League leaders in RBIs as well. And Joey Turdoslavich, who had a rough year last year. He changed positions, got a rough start, got off to a rough start in AAA, but then finished strong in AA. Well, he's back to his old form and having a good spring. And a young pitcher, J.R. Graham, has not given up a run in 7 innings. This guy's a starter. He's built kind of like Craig Kimbrell and throws in the upper 90s as a starter. From start to finish, he is very strong, clocked in the high 90s even at the end of ball games, so he's worth watching too, certainly.
John Buck, the batter, ahead in the count, 1-0. And Pena at short. Tim's starting to get the ball on the ground. Love to see that. 2 quick outs. The Braves did make some roster moves today. They optioned Ernesto Mejia to AAA Gwinnett. They reassigned catcher Matt Kennelly, Elmer Reyes, and Todd Cunningham to minor league camp. The Braves currently have 42 players in camp, including 10 non-roster players. It's 20 pitchers, 9 infielders, 8 outfielders, and still 5 catchers. And again, you talked with Frank Wren earlier, and he said 3 battles still?
Yeah, there are three openings. Infield, outfield, and bullpen. And there's a spot until Brian McCann comes back for somebody to back up GERALD LAIRD too, so that it's actually 4. But that was, you knew that was going to be a possibility of that person only being here until McCann is ready to go. And I talked to Brian before the game, and he didn't take batting practice today, but he will tomorrow. He said he's very pleased with where his swing is and feels no discomfort whatsoever swinging, but he's much improved with his arm strength too after his shoulder surgery.
Another chance for Dan Ugla, and Hudson gets 3 ground ball outs in the 4th inning. Braves down a run. Heart of the order coming up. Game summary as we head to the Braves half the fourth inning. Tim Hudson's pitched 4 innings. He gave up a long home run to Lucas Duda. Juan Francisco, though, answered with a blast of his own that went over the yellow wall in right center field out by our TV trucks. Call that Joe Simpson territory here at Champion Stadium.
Yeah, that's where I parked.
The 2-1 ball game with Jeremy Hefner back out there for the Mets. He's pitching in an important spot for this New York ball club. It looks like Johan Santana's not going to be ready to go opening day for New York. We mentioned the trade of R.A. Dickey, the Cy Young Award winner, to the Toronto Blue Jays. So they have a couple of spots they have to fill, and they're starting to stretch Hefner out to maybe claim one of those starting rotation positions.
Yeah, I think the way he pitched at the end of...
Oh, my. Yikes. A long home run for Freddie Freeman. That's headed out to 10th City.
Number 4 for him. Remember his first time up, something down and in, and he hit a bullet to right field that Baxter ran down. This time Freddie able to elevate it a little bit and had a little bit more of the plate and a no-doubter. Looked like that one landed on the Hayward tents out there. They had to put those up to protect the cars from the Braves staff when Hayward was knocking out windshields.
The Braves have hit 22 home runs this spring now.
Get used to it.
So 2-2 is the score.
But I started to say that they've got some good arms, including this kid who finished his season on a good note, 12 shutout innings and 2 starts for the Mets.
A little flare into left, and Lucas Duda will play that on a hop. A.J. Upton with a single.
And as he did, Terry Collins, who's on the rail for the Mets as their manager, his head just slumped, because that's something that if they're going to have Duda in the lineup to utilize his bat, you're going to have to suffer through some lack of defense too, and Lucas electing to play that one on a hop. But Matt Harvey's got a good arm. We liked what we saw of him. We saw him with the Mets late in the year. They signed Sean Markham, formerly of the Brewers, as a free agent. And they got Jonathan Neese.
Another chance in left. Another chance for Duda to play it on the hop. He did. Back-to-back singles for Atlanta after the Freeman homer.
This one was more of a legitimate single because Dan put some topspin on this that caused it to sink pretty quickly in front of Duda. I don't think he had a play on this at all. I thought he did have a play on Upton's.
1 in, 2 on, nobody out in the Braves' fourth, and this is Juan Francisco. Francisco and Chris Johnson battling for the starting third base job for the Braves.
Funny part, while I was standing talking to Terry Collins before the game, guys like Francisco and Chris Johnson in the batting cage at the same time, and Terry Collins was watching the BP and he says, does anybody on this team not hit the ball out of the ballpark? Because it was just one after another, and a couple of guys clearing, including Gaddis, clearing that center field wall, the back wall.
And the playing time has been split even. 40 at bats for Johnson. This is the 40th at bat for Francisco.
Yeah, and Chris has played some first base too, giving Freddie Freeman some time off.
That's upstairs, a ball and 2 strikes as we've reached 2 o'clock. And Francisco couldn't lay off a pitch in the dirt, and he is a strikeout victim in this 4th inning. Second strikeout for Jeremy Hefner. No balls and a strike. Braves will be here in Orlando once again tomorrow as pickoff play at second. Upton back safely. The Yankees come a-calling tomorrow night. First pitch at 5:05 Eastern Time. We'll get our first look at Paul Maholm for the Braves against the Yankees.
He had an excellent outing his last time out. His numbers from last year.
Very different looking Yankees ball club with all of the injuries they've had to deal with.
Well, when you've got to stoop so low and dig so low that you're calling chipper.
Yeah.
I hope he's watching. Or somebody call him and tell him. I mean, you're really hurting, really.
Yeah.
You know?
Broken down old gray mares, you might call them, right? But boy, the Yankees, no Granderson, no Teixeira. A-Rod, of course, out probably the entire season for New York. So they've got some challenges to figure out, and suddenly rough and tumble, or again rough and tumble American League East. 1-2 the count to GERALD LAIRD. Back-to-back strikeouts for Hefner. 2 on now, 2 out with Tim Hudson.
Well, those were 2 back-to-back good pitches on the inside part of the plate. The first one looked like a cutter or a slider that caused GERALD to back up a little bit, and that one was just right on the corner. Good pitches by Hefner.
Let's see if Tim can help himself with 2 outs. Only in the last week or so has Freddie Gonzalez employed his pitchers as hitters. He's gone with the DH for the first couple of weeks of spring training.
Well, that was smart. Get everybody some more at-bats that needed them. Franklin was also telling me something that he liked Freddie that he did was that the outfielders, the 3 outfielders, the 2 Uptons and Hayward, they play together every time they play. They don't split them up. The infielders play as a unit, and usually it's all the infielders and the next day all the outfielders, and then all together. And they rotate that way so that everybody's getting some time off too, of course. But he wants everybody to play together that are going to be playing together.
Makes sense. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Tim Hudson. Game tied 2-2 in the 4th. The comeback by Hefner, a homer, back-to-back singles, and then struck out the next 3 Braves hitters in a row. Freddie Freeman, though, hits a long home run to deep right field, and that one ties this game as we head to the 5th. Tim Hudson to work in the 5th inning. And a man with bookend Z's, his opponent, Zach Lutz.
You're already in midseason form.
I don't know if that's good or bad. 2-0 the count. Lutz, a former 5th-round pick by the Mets back in 2007. And he rips that one into left field. Clean single. Mets have 5 hits on the day. Time to, Joe, take a look at what's been a very busy offseason for this very tough National League East.
Well, the Braves improved certainly with the addition of the Upton brothers, but so did the Nationals. Dan Herron going into the rotation with already a strong rotation, adding a closer in Rafael Soriano. You see Strasburg is going to be allowed to pitch, apparently, this season.
Hicks pops it up center of the diamond. Who wants this? Pena will take it behind the second base bag. 1 out.
The Braves open up with the Phillies April 1st at Turner Field, and Cole Hamels will be the starting pitcher on that day. They added a couple of players, too. Veteran Mike Young coming over from the Texas Rangers, a solid player. But they're getting a little long in the tooth over there in Clearwater in spring training. Those guys putting some age on their ball club. It'll be interesting to see how they respond this year. And the Florida Marlins, we got rid of everybody, searching for players to try to fill spots after that huge trade they made with the Toronto Blue Jays, among others. I understand they had their day where they opened up single game ticket sales down in Florida, and it looked like nobody knew that they'd opened up the windows for single game ticket sales because nobody was there.
That's going to be a real challenge, quite obviously. But they do have Giancarlo Stanton, which is...
I'd pay to watch him every night if I lived down there.
Yep. And the Braves will participate in the Marlins home opener. I believe that's April 8th down in Miami.
And look what they did with the World Baseball Classic. They packed the place.
Yeah.
Those fans, 35,000 plus. So the fans are there. It appears that the way those fans are being treated, they're kind of sending their own message.
Well, you figure Marlins Park will be awfully crowded tonight. The World Baseball Classic continues. That's a winner advance game, or winner group or loser go home game, whichever way you want to look at it. Puerto Rico versus the U.S. And again, the U.S. team will be without David Wright, who, for Mets fans watching the broadcast, is on his way back to New York to have his back or his ribs examined. He's been hurting for about a week or so, and as Joe mentioned in his chat with Terry Collins, might not be able to go opening day. And that is a foul ball. Laird waited for that thing to stop spinning. And that'll be a strikeout of Jeremy Hefner.
First strikeout for Tim. Last inning, Tim had a real good sinker working. 3 ground ball outs. Ball was really moving. Looked like maybe another breaking ball, perhaps a changeup that Lutz hit into left field for a base hit this inning, but he's back on track.
Last year, the Nationals won 98 games and won the East. I don't know if 98's possible for any of these clubs, as well as the Braves, Phillies, and Nationals appear to be stacked up this year. Point being, all 3 of those clubs might have better years but have fewer wins.
I think that's possible, but I don't think the division's as strong as it was 2 years ago when the Phillies were, I'll say, in their heyday and in their prime, and the Braves and Nationals competing with them. But I think the deterioration of that club that had been put together in Florida, and the Mets, trying to put their best team on the field that they can find, but also having some struggles getting some key players. I think at the bottom of the division has gotten weaker than it was before.
I'd agree with you on that.
But you also have to take into consideration interleague play now. as being something that's just not a 2-week part of spring, part of the schedule in the middle of the summer. It's now throughout the season. So the Braves have Kansas City early in April. They've got Detroit in April. That'll be fun. How about that road trip?
Well, you've got the always traditional Angels versus Reds opener.
I mean, I looked at the Braves schedule and I just went, I hadn't noticed it, but what? An April road trip to Pittsburgh, Denver, and Detroit in April. Now, one of the things you have to fear is losing some of those games to bad weather, because you're only playing all 3 of those teams once in those cities. So if you lose a game, you're going to have to go back and make it up somehow, somewhere.
Remember a couple of years ago, we were snowed out in April or May in Denver and had to come back in the middle of a road trip somewhere and make up that ball game at Coors Field?
On our way to Arlington, I think. From California.
That's it. Hudson up over 60 pitches now. He'd like to go 6 if he could today. He's been much more efficient in this start than last time out. A couple of runs on 5 hits. And now a little tapper to his left. And he'll take care of Jordani Valdespin and the Mets. Top of the order up for the Braves, tied at 2. A few short days away, and we can't wait to get to beautiful Turner Field in Atlanta. April 1st, the Philadelphia Phillies come a-calling. It's a 7 o'clock first pitch, but we hope you'll join us for all of our special coverage with Braves Live, an hour-long Braves Live beginning at 6 o'clock Eastern Time.
152 games on the docket, either on Sports South or Fox Sports South. Be easy to keep track of this year. That doesn't even include the 4 games we're doing down here, 2 this weekend and a couple next week. And pre- and post-game show for all the regular season games.
Ramiro Pena starts the Braves 5th and looks at another strike. There you see it. 80 games on Sports South, 72 games on FS South, all of them in high definition. That's good news for every part of our broadcast except for our camera open. We don't need to be or want to be in high def.
No, that's true. You've still got a few years to go before you start worrying.
I don't know about that. Pena swings and misses. And Hefner struck out the last 4 Braves hitters in a row and has 5 in total for the game today. Phillies, by the way, as we showed you on that graphic a minute ago, Cole Hamels gets the ball on opening day for the Phillies. The Braves, though, haven't announced their opening day starter yet.
I think they're on line for it to be either Hudson or Medlin. Chris keeps deferring that to Tim, that he's the veteran, he's the guy that deserves it. You know, that he would be happy no matter where he is plugged in.
What might be of interest more than who starts opening day for the Braves, and taking nothing away from the honor, is who follows the opening day starter because of all those left-handed bats the Phillies feature. Might you see Mahalam or Minor move up a slot or two at the start of the season. Good cut for Jason. 0-2.
Well, I don't want to downplay the strength of the Phillies ball club or disrespect them in any way by saying they're long in the tooth, but they are getting some age on them, and they still have Utley, they still have Howard, they still have Rollins, and they've got the big three pitchers, although Halladay this spring is really scuffling.
Hefner isn't scuffling. That's 5 strikeouts in a row for him.
And that was a good changeup that ran down and away from Jason. He got Pena on a breaking ball. And in those last 2 starts, where I said he had a string of 12 shutout innings working over his last 2 starts with the Mets, he struck out 7 in each of those outings and went 7 innings in each of those outings. So he kind of got his feet wet, got settled in, and pitched well right at the end of the year for New York.
And boy, that's going to be, as you said, big for this Mets ball club. They had all kinds of bullpen trouble last year. Very high ERA among their relief corps. Mentioned Frank Francisco and his injury problems. Maybe this is the year Bobby Parnell takes over and becomes the full-time Mets closer. Only the Brewers had a higher team bullpen ERA in the National League than the Mets. Justin pops one straight behind the plate. And no play for John Buck. Ball and 2 strikes.
Justin got off to a great start. He was tearing this Grapefruit League up. He's cooled off a little bit here over the last week, but he had a home run here that is almost legendary now, over that berm in left field, and some say over all those flags. It actually went into the players' parking lot behind that berm in left field and into those trees. I don't remember ever seeing a ball hit there.
So is Simpsonville in left field, or is it in right center?
Well, isn't it interesting? These 2 brothers are about a little over 3.5 years apart, but BJ's this lanky, wiry guy, and Justin is shorter, stockier, stronger built. Boy, has he got a short, quick swing.
Swing and a miss. If that was Hefner's last inning, the last 2 were awfully impressive. He struck out 6 straight Braves and has a 2-2 game. The Atlanta Braves on Fox Sports South are brought to you in part by Toyota and by Georgia Power. We're through 5 in Orlando with my partner Joe Simpson. Chip Carey with you. Our first spring training telecast. Good pitching, plenty of power from the Braves. A couple of long home runs from Juan Francisco and Freddie Freeman today. See if Hudson can work his way through 6 innings today. He's looked good.
You know, the second inning he gave up 3 hits and the 2 runs, and looked like a lot of that was on a breaking ball, or on breaking balls, I should say. But there's a good one there that he ran away from Tejada. Excellent sinker and a couple of good cutters too.
So from a train wreck in his last start, using Tim words, to perhaps being right back on track today. And foul pass third. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
For guys like Tim who depend on location and, you know, stuff, changing speeds, spring training is definitely something that they need to get the feel for the release point, working both sides of the plate, as opposed to some flamethrower who just rears back and fogs it. And he's got a lot of different pitches.
And that one fouled away by Tejada. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Back down to the Braves dugout. Fine hitting coach of the ball club is Greg Walker. Greg, good to see you, pal.
Good to be here.
Talk about this offense. Everybody around baseball is buzzing about the outfield, and 2 more home runs today.
Yeah, you know, we're kind of moving down the road like we're supposed to be. You know, still some things to work on, and we got time to do it. So everybody's kind of ascending. Got a couple of guys scuffling today, but we'll go to work, hopefully have another at bat today, and then go to work tomorrow on it.
Hey, Greg, this is Joe. I'm curious, fans in Atlanta might be curious, and around the Braves viewing area, about the Upton brothers and their work ethic and what they're putting into this. What was your immediate reaction to them?
Well, I've got some friends in the business that have been around them before, and they get rave reviews, and it's held up. You know, they're talented as advertised, and they come to work every day. And they've been a pleasure to be around for a hitting coach. You know, there's guys that you love to see come in the cage every day, and there are 2 of them.
3 balls, 2 strikes to Ruben Tejada. And Upton in left. Long run makes the play. And Greg, all 3 of those Atlanta outfielders can do that too.
Yeah, they're very athletic. You know, I don't know if I've seen a more athletic, talented offensively as well. Outfield, they're very good.
I know last year for Juan Francisco, Greg, it seemed like a year-long work effort for you, trying to get Juan right, trying not to spin so much in his stance and on his swing especially. Have you been working on the same things this spring, and to what effect?
Yeah, he worked on it this winter during winter ball, and he's gotten better. You know, he's getting more pressure on his front leg, so he's able to stay there. But, you know, he's still not efficient enough for him to max out on his talent, because his talent's off the charts. You saw the first at bat, the ball he hit. I mean, he's got as much power as anybody in the game. His bottom hand is probably as good as anybody I've ever seen. I mean, he's unbelievable what he can do with his bottom hand. He can whip it through there nicely, but you know, he's got some inefficiencies in his load, and you know, the over-rotating in, and just a big move that's not real efficient, and it makes him pretty much time and base. That's the reason you see him swinging a lot of bad off-speed pitches and fastballs out of the zone. But you know, we'll continue to work, and he's made some improvements, no doubt. But you're talking about an ultra-talented physical guy that's just not quite efficient enough to put up the numbers that he's capable of doing. But we're still going to get a better product than we got last year, I think.
2 balls and a strike for Callan Cowgill, and popped foul out of play.
We've been talking during the course of the broadcast here today, Greg, about the Upton brothers, about Hayward, and about how perhaps Freddie Freeman. We haven't even seen the best of Freddie Freeman. One guy we haven't talked about is Dan Uggla. Tell us about his spring.
Yeah, I'm ecstatic about Danny, where he's progressing to. You know, we identified last year what we felt like the problem was. It's just sometimes during the season, new hitting coaches, it's kind of tough to make changes, and he had a great spring last year and got off to a good start. Made the All-Star team, but we felt like all along that Danny just was not giving himself a chance by being late coming out of his toe tap. He worked on it this winter and got down here, and it still was pretty much the same thing early in camp. And Scott Fletcher did a good job of showing him on tape that we pulled up Chipper and Josh Hamilton and 2 toe tappers as he is. And their toe tap was out of the way 2 or 3 clicks before his was. And he basically, the ball was on top of him before he could do anything, and all he could do was react and spin out. So he's consciously trying to give himself more time and get his toe tap out of the way. And, you know, listen, the guy's back of his baseball card, there's some big numbers on there. And he knows how to swing the bat if he gives himself a chance. And he's got a command of the strike zone. He knows what it is when he gives himself a chance by being on time. But I just think he was bad late all year last year, and the ball's on top of him, and his eyes were telling him, hey, I'm beat, I got to get out of here. And thus you saw a lot of under emergency hacks, basically, and it looked like he was trying to do too much, but I don't think that's what it was, because his work last year was good before the game. It's just the timing of it. He was so late that he just didn't give himself a chance, and he's giving himself a chance, and he's getting better every day and getting more consistent with it. You know, when we first started talking about it, he'd have a good day and a bad day, but the last 2 or 3 days, he's really been on time for me.
Greg, we talked a lot about the veteran guys on this club. One kid who's really opened a lot of eyes in camp is Evan Gaddis. Talk about what you've seen from this young man.
You know, this is my 11th year doing this, and I don't think I've ever been to camp when a big slugger didn't come into camp and get his timing going and hit a few home runs, and everybody said ooh and ah about it. But this kid's different. You know, he's a physically as strong and quick a big man as I've ever seen. You know, there's been a lot of big men in this game, but he has a degree of quickness. But the thing that makes you think that this holds up in the big leagues is, first of all, he has a pretty good approach about it. He knows he's learned on his own the approach, but he's mechanically correct. It's not a big, long, loopy swing. It's a very direct, powerful, quick swing, and he's got a command of the strike zone most days. And he doesn't try to do too much, and he's got a good 2-strike approach. There's a lot of things he does that holds up, and you add that with his physicality, and you know, you got a chance of getting some big results.
Tim Hudson with a walk to Lucas Duda. John Buck, the catcher, with 2 outs.
What little I've seen of Gaddis, Greg, one of the things that's impressed me already, not just his prodigious power, but how far he hits the ball to right center and right field.
Yeah, he's got oppo power big time. But I just like to watch him work. You know, he's not out here in BP trying to put on a show. He's out here trying to get his swing short and quick and direct to the ball. And like I said earlier, he's got a good 2-strike approach. He values putting the ball in play. He's not up there trying to hit home runs. Early in counts, he's a little more aggressive, you know, trying to hit the ball in the gaps. But the kid's got an idea about what he's doing. And like I said earlier, I just do not think he's one of these big guys that's just having a good spring by timing things up just right and facing the right pitchers on a given day. He's proven that he can get good pitching, and you know, now you just spring training is spring training, and you know, if he makes our team, then you know how he reacts to the moment and all that. Those are questions to be answered when he does make the team, if he does. But you know, the mechanical, physical aspects I look at every day, and the work ethic and the approach, they all lend themselves to him being a good big league hitter.
Tim Hudson's pitch count climbing up here in this 6th inning. Back-to-back walks with 2 outs. And Greg, you mentioned the term 2-strike approach. All the power the Braves had, that comes with a lot of strikeouts as well. Is that something you and Scott are talking to the guys about, or is that something that even comes up?
Well, yeah, we don't dwell on it much. We are going to strike out a lot. We try to be as mechanically efficient, approach efficient as we can be. But you don't want to change who people are. You know, we signed them for a reason. We traded for them for a reason. They're here because they're pretty successful at what they do. And over the 11 years I've been doing this job, one thing you don't want to do is change who a person is and their game too much, because you lose their strengths when you start dwelling on their weaknesses. So we'll continue to tweak, and especially situational hitting. We'll start getting into that a lot the last 2 weeks, and, you know, being able to drive that run in from third with less than 2 and put the ball in play. There's things that we can work on there, but we're not going to go out and try to turn 125 strikeout guys into 50 strikeout guys. I'm afraid we'd give up too much power and the positives.
Walk, we appreciate the visit. Keep up the great work, and we'll see you here again tomorrow night.
Okay, guys, always a pleasure.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, you bet.
Very impressive work for Tim, but how about Jeremy Hefner trying to nail down a starting slot for the Mets?
I'm telling you what, he's got a great curveball and showed it off here in this stretch of 6 straight strikeouts. Big one there to Payne. You got the top 3 guys in the order last inning. Change up to Hayward, and then another hook to Upton. He had a good finish to his outing. 7 strikeouts in all and just 1 walk. So get used to him. He's going to be in the rotation. You'll see a lot of him during the summer.
So Josh Edgin will take over. Seen Edgin in big league play. This is his 7th game of the spring. Edgin has a new battery mate, Travis d'Arnaud, one of the big names that came over in that deal with Toronto. Maybe the Mets catcher of the future. Has put on the gears behind the plate.
Yeah, there was some talk that he might be their everyday catcher, but Terry Collins indicated today that d'Arnaud will probably start in AAA so that he'll play every day, and then by mid-season move into that spot.
A little roller by Freddie Freeman. Edgin makes the play. And there's your first out. A couple of changes as well in the Mets outfield. Jamie Hoffman's taken over in right, and Andrew Brown is in left field. So Edgin gets Freeman. Freddie 1 for 3 so far today. And it's 1 and done, it appears, for Edgin.
I think that was pretty much going to be his role all year, is just to get left-handed hitters out. So he got good practice there.
Yes. Bottom 6 still tied at 2. Still have a chance to take part in our steal of the game today. Buy a season ticket package of 20 games or more. You'll get the 2013 Braves bobbleheads and a Chipper Jones bobblehead too. That offer's good for today only. Call right now, 404-577-9100. Scott Atchison, the new Mets pitcher. And a pop-up right side and out of play for B.J. Upton. 1 ball, 1 strike. Atchison's had a pretty good spring. Just 2 earned runs in his first 5 outings, covering 5 1/3 worth of work. And again for the Mets, it's open call for bullpen effectiveness. That was a glaring problem for him last year. A little flare over first, and Upton with a big turn around first is going to try for 2, and he's going to make it. Ball gets away, but no further advance. Hicks with the backup at shortstop, and Upton in at second base.
It's about a 120-foot double, and he just shows you what he can do when he even hitting a flare off the end of the bat. Out there in no man's land and never hesitated around first.
So here is Dan Ugley. You heard Greg Walker talking about how happy he was with where Dan is at this point in spring training. Casual fans might look up and say, well, how can he be happy? The man's hit 205 this spring.
But what's he done for you lately? You know, if he's making progress with what they're working on and they see good results, like his first at bat today when he lined that one to left.
He hit that ball hard to center. And all the way to the edge of the warning track is Cowgill, and Uggla flies out. Upton tags and moves to third with 2 down.
He also had the single to left that he put a lot of top spin on that he stayed back on nicely. So not too many people looking at numbers down here among veterans and looking at average and saying, uh-oh, same old thing. It's about signs of progress, and I think it was obvious that Greg was happy with what he was seeing from Dan lately.
A homer and strikeout for Juan Francisco today. Good stop by d'Arnaud. 1 ball, no strikes.
Now, d'Arnaud was the key player in the return from Toronto for R.A. Dickey. Top-notch prospect. He can really swing it. A couple of nice stops here, too.
d'Arnaud, he's been traded for a couple of pretty good pitchers. Originally was a Philly, went to Toronto in the Roy Halladay deal, and then came to the Mets for R.A. Dickey. What a compliment when you're traded for a couple of Cy Young Award winners, huh?
I'll say. Yeah, the Phillies really concerned about Halladay apparently because of his drop in velocity this spring.
Yeah, he was hammered in his last start for Philadelphia. As Francisco didn't get that. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And for all the talk about why the Phillies didn't trade Cliff Lee last year, might have been the best move they didn't make. If Halladay's not 100%. Another ball in the dirt. Francisco is tagged out. Not sure if it was tipped or not. He is struck out for the 2nd time in the ball game, and we're through 6 at Champion Stadium in Orlando. 2-2 your score. Seventh inning, game tied 2-2. Some defensive changes for the Braves as they await the Mets. In this inning, Reed Johnson takes over in left field. Jordan Schaefer's back in a Braves uniform. He's battling for one of those reserve outfield jobs. Jordan Perez is the man manning right field. And Chris Johnson takes over for Freddie Freeman at first base. And let's not forget as well, left-hander Eric O'Flaherty, who's been limited due to some minor discomfort this spring, but a chance to work today against New York.
Yeah, it's just his second outing, and he's excited to be back. You see his numbers from last year, battled some hamstring issues early in camp, and they didn't want to run the risk of that becoming a chronic problem, so they really shut him down for the first few weeks of the camp. Now he's back out there.
One more change for you. Tyler Pasternak takes over for Dan Ugla at second base. The man very happy to get some rest is the veteran leader of the pitching staff, 37 years young, Tim Hudson. How'd you feel today, pal?
I felt okay. It was a step in the right direction. Obviously, I'm not near where I want to be. Hopefully in a couple weeks. But it was nice to go out there and keep some crazy crooked numbers off the board. So
that's always a good idea.
Yeah. It was some good work. I didn't. Last time out, I threw 100 plus pitches in 5 innings, and that pace today would have been about 120 pitches, but I was able to stay at a normal pitch count and get some decently quick innings.
The one inning you gave up some runs, Tim. You told me before the ball game that you weren't happy with your breaking ball. You'd hit some batters with it. Was that an issue that inning?
No.
Balls, or was it changeup?
No, it was a just a two-seam sinker that he hit for a homer. I think it was 1-0 or 2-0 or for the homer, and just not locating the ball where I want to right now, especially with my fastball. And my cutter's been pretty good this spring. I threw some pretty good changeups and some pretty decent splits today. And I hadn't really broke out that curve. I threw a couple of decent curveballs, but I hadn't really worked on it today like I need to before the end of spring. But that'll come. I got a couple more starts left to hopefully fine-tune some things and locate things a little better, and be ready for when the bell rings.
And that was my next question, Tim. Are you still in work on things mode, or are you starting to think about your first start of regular season play now?
Well, as of right now, I'm still trying to get things harnessed and get things get my release point on a couple pitches. Obviously, I like to be a little further along than I am right now, but that's what spring training is for. It's just taking a little bit longer so far this spring than I would like, but have one more outing where I'm going to extend my pitch count pretty good my next time out. Then my last start, I'm going to back things down a little bit. But in between now and then, I'm going to get some good work on the side, get some good long tossing in. Hopefully, get that arm strength a little better than it is now, and fine-tune some things on the side with Roger in my bullpens.
Tim, we always hear about the period of spring training for pitchers, the so-called dead arm period. Is that a stretch that you guys find yourselves in right now, kind of in the middle of spring training, where you may not have as much zip as you had at the beginning of camp?
Well, I think once you start building that the volume of throws up for starters, that's when you can come across some things like that. With the relievers, they're on a pretty good routine right now. The kind of routine they're going to be during the regular season. They're out there for an inning, 15, 20 pitches at a time. But for us starters, we start getting extended to 80 to 100, 110 pitches. There can be a little bit of a lull period right there, but I haven't really experienced that. I'd like to use that as an excuse. but you know what? I think I'm past the dead arm phase.
Jamie Hoffman's the batter for New York with 2 on and nobody out in this top of the 7th inning. These guys one to center. Chance for Jordan Schaefer. He'll drift back to the edge of the track. He'll make the grab. Both runners tag for New York. The throw into second. Short hops. And the Mets have 2 in scoring position here with 1 man out. Still a mystery, Tim, is who's starting on opening day. Would you like to start opening day?
Sure. It's an honor. It's an honor and a privilege for anybody to be able to start opening day. Obviously, I would love to, but at the same time, I've had my fair share of opening day nods, and there's some great young arms here with this staff that's definitely deserving to to take that honor. But it's, honestly, it's, it's obviously a great honor, but at the same time, we want to win some ball games, and whatever the best matchups are, to get things going for the start of the year is how we should go as a team, and I think everybody understands that.
There's some guys on this staff that are vying for maybe one spot in the bullpen, Tim, and I know you don't get to see everybody because you may not be here for the games they work.
A little flare out to second, and no advance by the runner at third. Valdespin is the second out.
But if you have seen J.R. Graham pitch, for example, give us a scouting report on what you've seen from some of these young guys, and even Julio Teheran with the way he's pitched in camp.
Teheran's been outstanding. I think he's really taken that step forward. I think he has a confidence when he's out there pitching right now. He's always had the great stuff. There's no question about that, but now he's going out there and believing that he's going to go out there and dominate games like he did in AAA. And I think that shows this spring. But J.R. Graham, man, I'm going to tell you, he's a really he's an intriguing guy. I mean, he has a power arm, power sinker. I mean, he's mid to upper 90s. He has a nice hard cutter. And, he's been working on a little bit of a slower breaking ball, something with a little more depth, a little more of a change of pace breaking ball. And, he's that kind of kid that, he started working on something, and it's really coming pretty quickly to him. I saw him throw a bullpen yesterday, and it looks really nice. And, he's fun to watch, man. I think he's a kid that, he expects to go out there and miss bats, regardless of the level that he's going to be pitching at. And I think that's going to happen. I think similar to how Craig Kimbrell came up and just started really, having his way with guys. I see that kind of potential from JR.
Last question for you, Tim. Have you been working on your home run trot this offseason?
No, I haven't. I've been working on my trot back to the dugout, according to my last couple at-bats here today. But that's going to change. That's going to change. I'm going to spend some time in the cage and, see if I can't get trotting around the bases a little better.
Well, it's good to see you out there pitching well again, Tim. Look forward to the season. It's a big year for you. Just a handful of wins away from 200, and we can't wait to see that happen.
Well, thanks a lot, guys.
All right.
It's a pleasure.
Tim
Thanks,
Hudson got the start today, went 6 innings for the Braves today. And now gives way to Eric O'Flaherty, who's 1 strike away from getting out of some 7th inning trouble. Nice stop by Gerald Laird. A couple of those in this sequence. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Francisco in between hop, made a good play, and Eric's out of trouble. In the top of the Mets 7th inning stretch time. Game tied 2-2. Just a couple of weeks, we get things going for real for the 2013 campaign in Major League Baseball. The Braves, of course, open at home on Monday, April 1st against the Phillies. And 3 of our first 4 series partner are within the division. That's always important.
It is indeed, and nice for the Braves to be able to open up at home, because the rest of April, a lot of road games, beginning with that opening road trip to Florida and Washington. And then early on, I mean, the interleague play comes back to Turner Field right after that first road trip. A couple of home games with the Kansas City Royals. Later in the summer, the Braves make their first ever trip to Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City.
Yeah, as Gerald Laird shoots one to right, 1 pitch, 1 out. Yeah, that's a brief pit stop at home after that first road trip. I think it's 2 against the Royals and then right back out to that Pittsburgh, Colorado, Detroit road trip.
Exactly. It's those 2 days will, for us, feel almost like part of the road trip.
Yeah. So Laird flies out to right. Reed Johnson bats for the first time.
Good that the Braves re-signed Reed. Played well for them after they got him from the Cubs.
Led baseball, I believe, in pinch hits last year.
Mm-hmm. He's been getting a lot of at-bats in the leadoff spot with Simmons gone for the WBC.
One ball, 1 strike. Atchison is featuring a good fastball today. 1-2 your count. Another packed house at Champion Stadium today. Lots of folks with picnic blankets out on the berm as well. And a perfect afternoon. High 60s, low humidity, bright sunshine, not a cloud in the sky.
How's the berm rolling this year? Did you come out early again today?
I didn't try it out. Night game tomorrow.
Okay.
Nice play at second by Valdez-Speen to take care of Reed Johnson. And that's a quick sack it out. Fox Saturday Baseball returns with 3 great matchups as Angels outfielder Josh Hamilton goes back to Texas and faces the Rangers. Or the Yankees battle the Tigers, or the Cardinals take on the world champion Giants in a rematch of the National League Championship Series. The debut of Fox Saturday Baseball is April the 6th. How do you think the Rangers fans will greet Josh Hamilton?
Not kindly. I mean, after some off-season remarks he made about them being somewhat more of a football area, football fans, not baseball fans. I don't think they appreciated that too much, especially when they turned out in such huge numbers for those good teams they've been having.
Boy, the Halos ought to have, if healthy, some kind of offense with Albert Pujols, with Josh Hamilton, Mike Trout. And we hope Tommy Hanson pitches well for the Angels.
Yeah, we wish him well. Jordan Walden, who came from the Angels to the Braves, guy we got to see a couple of years ago in interleague play, who just throws lights out, throws very hard, has been kind of like O'Flaherty. He's been held out of workouts because of a bad back, but he went back to Atlanta, got an injection, and I think had a 30-pitch bullpen session yesterday that everybody said was very positive, so he should be in a ball game real soon.
Ball and 2 strikes for Ramiro Pena. Bases are empty. And back to the screen for the man manning the leadoff spot for the Braves today. Good to see Jose Costanza able to arrive to camp. Delayed in the Dominican Republic for about a month with visa issues. Got here yesterday, I believe. Hopefully he'll get a chance to open some eyes. We know what Jose's capable of. You see what he did last year with the Braves.
Well, you miss 5 days, you miss a week. That's one thing. And Freddie Gonzalez said, we're not too worried about Jose. He played winter ball. We know he's still sharp. His swing is sharp. But when you miss as much time as he's missed, that is an issue. So I don't know what the holdup was on his visa, but I know he's very happy to be back.
To short. And a good scoop, or not a good scoop, but first the ball popped away. And Pena will reach with 2 outs. Throwing the dirt.
And the aforementioned Mr. Constanza will pinch run for him.
And Jordan Schaefer will be the Braves hitter. And Terry Collins is going to go to his Mets bullpen. Atchison pitched effectively, should have been out of the 7th inning, but he'll leave with a runner aboard and a tie game 2-2. This beautiful day in Orlando continues. The Braves up with a runner at first and 2 outs in a tie game. 2-2 your score. Fans, grab the Braves steal of the game. Last chance for you. Buy a season ticket package of 20 games or more. You'll get a full set of the Braves 2013 bobblehead series and a 2012 vintage Chipper Jones bobblehead too. The offer is good till the end of our broadcast today, so call right now, 404-577-9100. There's a look at Aaron Laffey. His 3rd appearance of the spring for the Mets. He'll face Jordan Schaefer in the 7th inning.
Terry Collins going with some more matchup issues here, trying to find something out about some guys. Edgin came in and got his left-hander out. Now we'll find out if Laffey can get his. Omar Quintanilla will come in for the double switch at short.
Laffey's been around a while. Broke in with the Indians. He's pitched with the Mariners, Yankees, Royals, Blue Jays, and now the Mets organizations. So a lefty-lefty chance for Jordan Schaefer. No balls and a strike. That's fouled at the plate.
Fouled off his foot, which may have scuffed up some new shoes. Those are fancy.
Those shoes just make you look fast, don't they?
One of the advantages Jordan has to make the club as the fourth outfielder, let's say, is that he is such a good defender. He's an excellent center fielder, but he could play any of the three outfield spots. And he's had a good spring with the bat, too.
Ken Schaefer was one of the principals in the deal that brought Michael Bourne to the Braves. And Houston let him go, and the Braves brought him back. So second chance in the Atlanta organization for Jordan Schaefer.
The Mets have a young man that they're very high on, a center fielder named Matt Den Decker, who played at University of Florida. Outstanding go-get-em guy in center field, but strikes out too much. He's got some pop in his bat, but 150 or so strikeouts in the minor leagues. He's going to have to make more contact. I think the same could be said about Jordan if he just put the ball in play more and use his speed.
Costanza's running. Darno's throw is a laser, and a high tag on the shoulder is in time to retire the side. Boy, Darno showed off a strong arm as he takes care of Costanza and the Braves in the 7th inning of play. We go to the 8th, still tied 2 apiece. Low-scoring game, partners. We head to the 8th inning, but a couple of big blasts are our Honda Lawn and Garden plays of the game.
Happened in the 3rd and 4th innings. Well, for the Mets, it occurred in the 2nd inning off of Tim Hudson. Lucas Duda went deep to put the Mets on top. Then the Braves came back on this long homer by Juan Francisco that went over the yellow wall out behind the parking lot. That made it 2-1, and then in the 4th, Freddie Freeman pitched down and in, launched one off Hefner, and hit off the tents back there. 2-2 our score. We're still at 2-2.
And new battery for the Braves. On the mound is Christian Martinez. 54 games last year. And Christian just very quietly in that Braves bullpen. Hugely important arm. Think about how many times Christian at times came in and gobbled up multiple inning relief appearances.
He was that guy that doesn't get a lot of the headlines, but he saved so many innings for everybody else.
Cowgill to short where Tyler Pasternicki is moved. High throw into the camera well. And on the overthrow, Cowgill will take second. E6.
Finish the thought on Martinez real quick is not just those multiple inning outings, but the fact that he could go out there multiple days in a row, sometimes 4 days in a row, and save some of the other guys. Very important to his staff.
So, bit of bad luck for Martinez as Pasternak airmailed his throw at first. Chris Johnson couldn't come up with it.
And his third error of the spring.
So a chance for Andrew Brown to put the Mets in front. And that's fouled at the plate. The Christian Bethancourt, young catching prospect for the Braves, works behind the plate.
A guy that everybody on the club knows is one of the Braves' top prospects. Also Blake DeWitt at second base that have some major league experience. But Bethancourt, there's no doubting his ability to catch and throw. Excellent receiver. He's still waiting for his bat to come around a little bit. He's still one of the top prospects in the Braves organization.
Base hit to left by Andrew Brown. Streaking around third is Cowgill. The throw cut off. Francisco to second, and the tag applied. Braves work the cutoff play perfectly, but Andrew Brown puts New York in front with an RBI single in the 8th. 3-2, Mets are in front.
No hesitation at all by the Mets to try to send that runner in to get the go-ahead run in. Johnson did all he could, got it in quickly, hit the cutoff man. But the error came home to roost, as I heard a man say one time.
So the base is empty, one out for Travis d'Arnaud. And a quick strike from Christian Martinez. Back to Bethancourt. He's still a very, very young man. He'll be 22 in September as d'Arnaud rifles a single into center field. But this will be his 6th professional season. That's the thing everybody forgets. A lot of folks say, well, why isn't this kid in the major leagues? Well, he was a young teenager when the Braves signed him. And now here Bethancourt is, gradually improving and sticking around deeper and deeper into Major League spring training camp.
And when you sign a player that has just turned 16 or 17, it's going to take a little bit of development, especially for a catcher.
Here's Omar Quintanilla, second shortstop of the day for New York.
Yeah, I want to go back to the error by Pasternak, too. Tyler's had a good spring. He's hitting about 370, I think. I have to double check that number. But there's no questioning his offensive ability. He can put the ball in play. He's got good legs. He can run. He's a good base runner. But his defense is something that keeps coming back to bite him. And that was just a routine play. Ground ball to short. He didn't have to move left or right. And launched it into the camera well. Set himself. Didn't get on top of that throw. It was a little bit of a 3/4 to almost sidearm throw. But that part of his game is what is the only thing holding him back.
1 ball, 1 strike to Quintanilla. And a laser hit to DeWitt at second. Blake to his left with a good play. And that's out number 2.
Good play by Blake DeWitt. Again, a veteran Major League infielder with a couple of different clubs trying to make this one.
Well, Zach Lutz bats. He's had a good day today. He's 2 for 3 with a couple of singles. Lutz can play either corner infield spot, third base or first base. And for the immediate future for New York, he's going to be blocked by Ike Davis at first, and of course David Wright, who signed that big contract in the offseason with New York. So for that backup infield spot, historically, is that an offense first or defense first position?
Defense first, and some versatility. Able to play, I think it'd be very important to play at least short and second. And as we've said already about Pena, he can play third a little bit too, so that might give him a leg up. I've not seen Pastornicki play third. I've seen him play short and second.
That one through the legs of Bethencourt, but he's able to keep it close by. 3 balls and a strike. One of the unmistakable signs of spring, when a pitcher finishes his work, do the outfield sprints. That painted a corner. Full count. Another chance for Tyler. Perfect on his second try. The Mets cash in an unearned run in the 8th inning and have taken a 3-2 lead. Three-2's our scores. The Braves come up in the bottom of the 8th inning. The mixed blessing that is the WBC means if you have players participating, you don't get to see them in your training camp. For the Braves, the good part of the blessing is Andrelton Simmons is starring for the Netherlands.
I just love the fact that he's led off in every game for them, and he leads all players in the WBC in runs scored. So he's getting on base. He's hitting with power. He hit a big 2-run homer to tie a game against Cuba. He's just playing, I think, even offensively better than anybody expected him to at this early stage of the season. And I'm told defensively he's been a highlight show too. No surprise there.
How about the Dutch team? Just a great story from the WBC. All those players from Curacao starring, and the pitchers who are from the European part of the nation of, or the kingdom, I should say, of the Netherlands. And Bert Blyleven in charge of that program, and they've put a scare into a lot of teams in years past in the WBC, and doing it again this year.
Yeah, I'm happy for them. You always like to see some of these teams from nations that are kind of emerging baseball countries to have some success and give them some incentive. Italy played real well. in the WBC too.
Jordan Schaefer was the hitter when Costanza was thrown out. He'll drive one to deep center. And the grab made on the warning track. Colin Cowgill, a fine play for out number one. I, for one, would not mind a road trip to, say, I don't know, Amsterdam, Rome, and then Miami Beach.
Yeah.
Who knows? Schaefer, a deep fly out to center for the first out. Here's Chris Johnson. Yeah, the at-bats between Johnson and Francisco virtually identical this spring, and the results have been virtually identical for the men vying for a starting job at third base. To your point about versatility, one leg up for Chris, as you said, and we've seen today he can play first and third.
Yeah, you expect Freddie Freeman to be out there just about every day, but when he's not, give him a day off against a tough lefty, for example. It's nice to know that there's someone like Chris who could step in as a right-handed hitter and play first.
And baseball in March, not at all strange for Chris Johnson. He used to play for the Astros, you recall, and went to college at Stetson University, just north of Orlando.
I've always liked him. When he first came up with Houston 2.5 years ago, I think it was, boy, did he come in with a bang. Hit about 10 home runs in a couple of months play. Hit for a high average, and then when he had the job in his first full season, he got off to a little bit of a slow start and just had a hard time getting out of that rut.
Popped up. Cowgill in shallow center. And he's there to retire Chris Johnson for out number two. Here's Jordan Perez. Perez had a very big day down in Jupiter yesterday. He had 4 hits, including a pair of doubles.
You know, he came close to making the club last year. He had an outstanding spring and was one of the last cuts. And then went to Gwinnett and got hurt.
And he pops it up. So Aaron Laffey's had an easy time of it against the Braves. A 1-2-3 bottom of the 8th inning. He's protected a 3-2 New York lead. Top of the 9th inning, Braves down a run, 3-2 as we face the New York Mets. It's an all-New York broadcast schedule these 2 days for us at Disney. The Mets today and the Yankees tomorrow night.
Paul Maholm for the Braves after they got him for the Cubs was exactly what they hoped for. A guy who ate a lot of innings, gave you good outings. There are some days where He didn't have it. You knew he didn't have it. You move on. Next 2 or 3 outings, they were all good. And he's going to be a fixture in the rotation this year, and a guy, again, who he takes the ball every 5th day, never on the disabled list, very steady, and 13-game winner last year, oh, by the way.
Told you all about the injuries for the Yankees. Maybe an old friend will come for a visit tomorrow night. Matt Diaz,
right?
Remember, is with the Yankees this spring, so perhaps he'll make the trip over from Tampa for our ball game tomorrow night. So Corey Guerin's on to pitch and might be close to winning a job if he hasn't already in the Braves bullpen.
He and Anthony Barbaro been kind of going neck and neck for a spot, pitching a lot the same, but Corey Guerin hasn't given up anything. Tough to be better than a 0 ERA, what I'm told.
And the first man he faces will be Brandon Hicks. Last appearance for Corey Guerin was March 11th. Struck out the side against the Nationals, and he's been striking out a lot of people this spring. 7 strikeouts in his last 4 appearances.
Excellent ERA last year in 22 games. Excellent walk to strikeout ratio. It seems to me that 1.8 ERA too for Corey, it was kind of lumped in 1 or 2 games where he had, you know, a bad outing, maybe gave up 3 or 4 runs, and because he didn't pitch multiple innings, it was tough to whittle that ERA down. There's just 1 or 2 outings where he gave up runs.
And I've always wanted to ask you, as a hitter, when you have a guy who delivers the baseball like Guerin does, is that an extra advantage for your bullpen? Everybody else is 3/4 or over the top. He's like Peter Moylan, sidearm or below.
No question. He's the guy you want and need, somebody down there who can come in and get you out of that trouble spot with a ground ball. But also for a guy like Corey, he's got to pitch ahead in the count. He can't pitch 3-1, 2-0 a lot, because then he has to elevate that sinker.
And he loses Brandon Hicks, a leadoff walk, starts the Mets' 9th. Jamie Hoffman's going to be the Mets hitter. And Sunday, NASCAR heads to Bristol for the first short track race of the season. Daytona 500 champ Jimmy Johnson looks for his 2nd career victory in Thunder Valley. And defending champ Brad Keselowski tries to defend his title. Fox Sports exclusive coverage of Sprint Cup Series racing starts Sunday at 12:30 Eastern. And Guerin balked.
That short track racing like at Bristol is a lot like leaving Disney when you're driving out of here.
Yes it is. One way in, one way out, and every man for himself.
If you're not bumping, you're not leaving. Yeah, there's a little flinch you saw, moved his glove back a little bit.
Now he has so many, I guess, ticks in the way he comes to a set position as Hoffman unloads deep left center field. And that's going to one-hop the fence. Hicks will score. Hoffman doubles to add to the Mets' lead. It's now 4-2.
It's 2 hard hit balls for Hoffman. Remember, he backed Schaefer up to the wall in center back in the 7th inning. And there's that sinker that was elevated a little bit in the first run allowed by Corey Guerin.
And it started with a leadoff walk. But with Corey, all those little fidgets, if he makes that move every time, they may call it a balk every time, but they're not supposed to call it a balk if it's
consistent. You're right.
Valdespin hits. The runner at second and nobody out. 4-2 New York. The Mets about hit the Braves today, 9-6. Both starters in this game, I thought, looked very, very good.
Tim had a couple of innings that were excellent.
A spring high 6 innings for Hudson today. As Valdespin is shot to right. Hoffman's going to round third, and no throw from Perez. 5-2 New York. RBI hit for Valdespin.
Excuse me, Chip. Jordan had a little trouble picking the ball up, too. He had intentions of throwing home, but couldn't come up with it cleanly. Here was Perez coming in on the ball. Kind of bounced up off his arm.
So Laffey will hit for himself, or at least try to.
And I realize this is the pitcher batting, and so nobody out especially, you'd want to bunt the runner over. But I expect the Mets to play some small ball a lot.
Guerin handles the bunt. Runner to second. There's the first out of the inning. By the way, I wonder if Tommy Glavine was the last Met to wear 47 before Laffey.
Good question.
Hope Tommy's doing well. He'll be joining us during the summertime. Our broadcasts at Turner Field. We've got a few suggestions for how he handles his kids' power play, however, so Tommy, get ready for that. Here's Cowgill. Cowgill has singled and scored the go-ahead run for the Mets. That was back in the 8th. Francisco to the left side, can't get it. Pasternak he did. Strong throw and in time.
Nice pick over there by Johnson. Good play here by Tyler, because a lot of times when the ball gets by the third baseman, it's hard to keep track of the baseball where it is. But Tyler unloaded a strong throw there and got a little help from Chris Johnson. Good play on both ends.
So runner at third, 2 outs. And Andrew Brown, the hitter for New York. He drove home the go-ahead Mets run 1 inning ago.
An outing like this for Guerin, where you give up your first runs of the spring, it's disappointing for him because he's been pitching so well, but it's not the end of the world, because there's still a couple of weeks left. You know, if you're getting down to the end of March and there's already been a few guys cut and you're getting down to the last 2 or 3 guys for one spot, this can be a very damaging outing, but not at this time of the month.
Little flare to DeWitt at second. Blake handles that, and that will retire the side. Leadoff walk started things for the Mets. They cash in 2 runs and add to their lead. It's 5-2 heading to the last of the ninth. Here's your game summary. Last chance for the Braves heading to the bottom of the 9th inning, and it starts with the starter, Tim Hudson.
Tim Hudson gave up a couple of runs, both in the 2nd inning, but 6 strong innings, a couple of walks. Those were in his last inning when he might have been getting a little bit tired. Offensively, Upton with a couple more hits. He's still tearing it up, and Francisco and Freeman both hit long home runs. One in the 3rd, one in the 4th for the Braves. For Freddie, his 4th this spring.
So Tyler Pasternicki leads off the 9th. Aaron Laffey's still out there for the Mets. It'll be Pasternicki first, then Blake DeWitt, then we'll see for Atlanta. 1 ball, no strikes. Joe mentioned the good offensive spring Tyler's put together, and he's right. 375 average and 9 RBIs.
Solid offensive player. Makes good contact. Gap-to-gap power.
Popped up. Down the spin and drifts out. He'll give way to Hoffman in right. There's the first out in the bottom of the 9th inning.
Good crowd here today. 9,186, packed house. Some of the people out on the berm have rolled on out to the parking lot.
Yeah, we'll have to check the stimp meter on the berm tomorrow. But the ballpark looks great, and we figure it'll be packed again tomorrow night. If you don't have tickets for the game, hope you'll join us at 5 o'clock Eastern Time for the Braves and Yankees. Wonderful to see Mariano Rivera tomorrow. He made his spring debut against the Braves over in Tampa. And like Chipper Jones last year, Rivera has announced that this will be his final season in pinstripes, and the argument, I guess, maybe it's not even an argument. Is he the greatest closer in the history of the game?
Be hard to argue against him. There are some who feel that if he hadn't gotten hurt last year, that would have been his last year, but he didn't want to go out that way. Wanted to finish on a good note.
I believe Mariano's the last man standing as far as wearing number 42 in Major League Baseball. So his number is already retired, but he'll eventually have a monument at New Yankee Stadium as well, as DeWitt lines out to center. And Juan Francisco, the final hope for the Braves, with bags clear and 2 down in the 9th. Long homer for Francisco and a couple of swinging strikeouts in his 3 trips today. And a chance to see what he can do against a lefty in this 5-2 Mets game.
If you missed the homer and just joined us, this is the 3rd inning. He didn't hit it over 1 fence. He hit it over 2 walls. Ballpark fence and then the parking lot wall out there.
I've never seen one go out there.
I don't remember seeing one there. If you do, it's usually in batting practice or there's a big gale blowing out that way. There's no wind today.
Ball game. Aaron Laffey seals the deal for the Mets. They beat the Braves by a final score today of 5-2, but positives for Atlanta. Freeman and Francisco homer, and Tim Hudson rebounded after a disappointing start his last time out.
Yeah, and B.J. Upton continues his good work. He's been hot all week, and 2 more hits today with a double. And hopefully better results tomorrow, although everybody got their work in. Tim Hudson happy with his outing. He's still got some more work to do as well.
Well, partner, off we go. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Yeah, rip roaring.
At a baby. 5-2 our final score. Mets beat the Braves today. We're back at it tomorrow night when the Yankees come to town here at Lake Buena Vista, Florida. Our game time is 5 o'clock Eastern time. Joe Simpson and our crew, I'm Chip Carey, bidding you good afternoon. We'll see you again tomorrow night. Again, your final Mets beat the Braves. 5-2 your final score. Have a good night, everybody.